Hello and welcome to Talking Point program with me, Paul Bith. In our discussion for today, we are talking about the roles and the responsibilities of South Sudan Engineering Council. To discuss this, I'm joined on the program by the four engineers. Engineer Barnaba Dumo Wani, Chairman of Engineering Council of South Sudan, and as well as Professor Ajo Magodchol, Deputy Chairperson of Engineering Council of South Sudan. And number 3 is Engineer Oliver Marco Rimago, Registrar and Acting Secretary General of ECOS. And as well as Engineer Atem Tul Atem, Chairman of South Sudan Engineering Society. Welcome both of you for this discussion. Now to begin with, Mr. Barnaba, I want to begin with you. What more can you tell us about the general overview of the South Sudan Engineering Council?
First of all, I want to thank the SSBC for giving us the opportunity to be able to highlight the role of the Engineering Council of South Sudan. The Engineering Council of South Sudan is part of the regulatory arm of the government. We are a professional regulatory arm. The Engineering Council of South Sudan was started as a branch of the Sudanese Engineering Council in 2009. But when South Sudan became independent, we had to formulate our own law and establish our own engineering society in South Sudan after independence. So the executive board of the branch at the time embarked on drafting a bill to be passed into law, which is now the current law under which the Engineering Council of South Sudan is operating. With the help and guidance of the Ministry of Justice, we drafted a bill. It was taken to the Council of Ministers, passed to the Assembly, and it was passed into law known as Engineering Council of South Sudan Act 2012. It came into force on the 12th of February 2012. Of course, according to once the law was passed, the council was now reconstituted in accordance with the provisions of the law. And now an executive board, new board was formed in accordance with the provisions of the law. The board is composed of 19 members and the Secretary General as an ex-officio member, 20 in all. This board was presented to the Cabinet by the Minister of Cabinet Affairs, because the Engineering Council is under the supervision of the Minister of Cabinet Affairs. The Cabinet eventually passed and approved the membership of the board. And I happened to become the chairman of the governing board of the Engineering Council, and Professor Ajoy became my deputy. And unfortunately, we had the Secretary General who was with us moved to another institution, and we put in late Rhoda Achol, and she also passed away. That's why we had to bring the registrar of the council as acting secretary general.
Okay, thank you so much indeed for your talking on the program. We're continuing. Professor Ajo, what exactly, South Sudan has got many young engineers, of course, and most of these practitioners who are doing this work now. What are the ethical qualities required by the South Sudan Council of Engineering, Mr. Ajo?
Yes, the Engineering Council is a regulatory body of the government, as said by the chair. In regulating the profession, we we look at the qualifications, we have different categories of membership. We have the consultant, we have the engineers, we have the technician or technologists, which involve the artisans and all those things, bodies. Now, under each one, there are conditions to be met. For you to be a consultant, for example, you would have worked for many years, and also you would have acquired certain qualifications, experience. We are talking about 15 years and above of actually practical work. And also when you are engineer, you would have also have some qualifications, academic qualifications, and then experience.
Okay.
Then the graduate engineer. These are the young people who just finished from the academic institutions. They are called graduate engineers. They don't have experience. Now, we interview people. There is a panel that go through the documents and see whether you meet the criteria for you to be qualified under each of the membership. And you have to be interviewed beside the papers that you present. You will have to be interviewed, and what people are looking for when you are being interviewed is any engineer must be familiar with the design, specification design. Whether you are electrical, civil, mechanical, agriculture engineer, or a network engineer, etc., petroleum engineer. What is common is that you must be able to design, specify whatever thing that have to be done. Whether you are talking of a house that have to be built, whether you are talking of roads, you are talking of whatever kind of engineering enterprise that have to be made. So you have to be familiar with the specification design. And now, after having done that, we need to know whether you have that knowledge, technical knowledge, to be able to put things down. Then, what we are also looking at is, any work that have to be done, if you have to be a consultant, for example, you cannot do a work for which you are not qualified to do. It is not ethical.
Okay.
There has to be a relationship between you, the client, you as a contractor to be client, and something like that. The work that you have to do in an ethical, professional way.
Okay.
So that you don't cheat, you don't cut corners.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much for your response on my questions. Before I bring Engineer Marco, I would have to bring in Ms. Engineer Atem to respond to this question. Mr. Atem, welcome, and you also have to tell us what are the roles of the South Sudan Engineering Society.
The role of Engineering Society is the role of Engineering Council of South Sudan. We are actually preparing our different discipline of engineering. When the engineers graduate from the university, they have to approach the Engineering Society for them to be registered. And then we verify their document, we give them our membership as a society, and then we send them to Engineering Council to give them a license. The Engineering Council is the regulatory body. All of us must be under it, but each discipline or each specialization should go through the society for them to practice and to address the issues related to their discipline. So our role is to mobilize our engineers to be registered and to be the member of the Engineering Society as well, and then later on they can form their own association under the society and overall under the Engineering Council of South Sudan. The idea is to make sure that all our members are member of engineering society as well. They have to be a member of Engineering Council of South Sudan, which gave the license and we gave the certificate for practicing the engineering in the country. So we are mobilizing the engineers. We are organizing them to be ready to be licensed by the Engineering Council of South Sudan. Our role is really very large and very huge. That's why we call all the engineers in South Sudan to register with us, to join us, and then we prepare them the way for the Engineering Council to be easy for them to be licensed, and you practice with the license number as required by the law.
Okay, I appreciate your response. Coming back to you, Engineer Marco, welcome again for our discussion. And I wanted to ask you, in your registration office, what is the required standard for somebody for you to register someone that is applying for the licensing? What are the requirements do you need in your office as a registrar?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I thank South Sudan Broadcasting for receiving us today and having an interview with us.
Yes.
And you, the presenter, and my colleague, we're happy to be with you, and also to address our audience who are watching us about this program. I think the registration depends on who is the member of the Engineering Council. As it was stated by Professor Adway, the members of the Engineering Council are categorized according to the Act. We have engineers, those are one branch. We have architects, we have technologists, we have engineering technicians, and we have skilled workers. Those are the members of the Engineering Council. In my office as a registrar, I required academic documents and I required experience assertion document. Those are the bases that I needed to verify. Then when I receive these, I have panels specialized in each discipline. Those panels will verify and then determine the level of the engineer. Because within the engineering, we have several levels. We have professional, we have consultant, we have graduate. And within also the technologies, we have fellow technologies, we have member technologies, we have graduate technologies. So we determine you based on the points that you achieve. For example, someone who graduated, a new graduate, he has a bachelor degree, he has a 5 point. He will be immediately enrolled into the graduate level, and he will be given a document. We serve our members with 2 documents. We serve them with certificate of registration. This is for all members of Engineering Council. And we serve them with license to practice the engineering. This license is limited to 2 categories. Either you must be a consultant or a professional. Why? Because you have the ability to perform that specific aspect of your discipline. And also you will be in position to upgrade the competence of the graduates. We mean by the competence, the needed knowledge, the needed skills, and the needed attitude for you to be competent in your field. Thank you.
Okay. Engineer Barnaba, I'm coming back to you. What is the majorities of the South Sudanese who are now practicing engineering work? Most of these people seem to be lacking some professional standard or some skills in doing this kind of work. What do you think could be the problem to these cases?
First of all, as it has been stated, the mechanism of registration is a way in which you can ensure that anybody practicing engineering in South Sudan is qualified. Currently, we have categories of people who have completed universities, a university degree course, getting a bachelor degree. These are considered engineers or architects. They are one category. Then you go to the other 2 or 3 categories. The idea is when we register an engineer and give him a certificate, this particular level or category of engineer is able to practice his profession as a man who has been allowed to practice in the Republic of South Sudan, because the law provides that anybody who wants to practice engineering in South Sudan must be registered. And registration is the only way in which you can now assure that that particular individual is qualified to practice engineering, because there are two things in any practice, particularly engineering. You need safety, you need quality, and we need what we call economic viability of any product that comes out of the service. Engineering, the engineers produce products. This must be safe to use. This must be also good quality and affordable. This is the role and the mechanism we use for registration. And that is why the law says if you are not registered, you should not practice engineering in South Sudan. When we get this assurance in the documents and the process we have been talking about, then we are sure that whoever is practicing engineering in South Sudan is qualified to do so. Of course, currently, so far, a society is still progressing in organizing themselves. And the Engineering Council is tasked with the role of organizing the engineering profession in South Sudan. In fact, professional councils in the country has a role in each field.
Okay.
We are in the engineering, there is the medical council, and there are other councils that should be coming up. But in engineering, this is the role which is for us specified in the law, which is called the Engineering Council Act 2012.
Okay, thank you so much indeed, Engineer Barnaba. I'm coming to you, Professor Ajo, on our discussion again. We have been talking about the qualities and the roles of the Council of Engineering in South Sudan. This has been our discussion, and now we are still continuing with it. Now, as Engineer Barnaba has stated, you have heard from him that whoever that has pursued a bachelor degree in engineering is qualified when he has registered is qualified to be doing the job. And most of these is it necessary for somebody that has acquired a certain academic documents, maybe a diploma or a degree, is this person qualified to work however much he registered?
Thank you for asking this question. First of all, when we talk about the categories of membership before, when we talk about graduate engineer, this is a fresh person. In reality, is not an engineer yet. An engineer is somebody who after having attained that academic document, then he gets employed, and then he gets experience. After 4 or 5 years, then he's working under supervision. Then that's where the title of engineer comes. He is not called an engineer until he or she undergone practice, okay, in the profession. In medicine, there's what they call husbandship. In law, they have, you have to bar, whatever. The same thing with us in engineering. You are a graduate. We call it graduate because you have just graduated. But you are not a real engineer until you go to the field and now you practice. And that's why when we are now, you are not expected when you are just an engineer. Last time, when I was in charge of Electricity Corporation, from 2000, I was the one in charge 2007 until 2011. The people that we used to recruit, okay, we tell them, work under the technicians who have been in there. Don't call yourself engineer until you are exposed to the practical know-how. Okay? I was questioning my engineers at the time. And of course, it does not take time for them to become real practical engineers. As I mentioned earlier before, there's the issue of design and specification of equipment or material, whatever it is. Okay? That needs. So what is given to them in academic arena is theory. Okay? There's a lot of theory. And and so on and so forth. That is not enough for you to be qualified as a real engineer.
Okay, that is, thank you so much indeed. Engineer Marco, I'm coming to you now. In your registration that you do with these graduates and as well as those that are willing to come in your office and apply for the license for them to operate in the country, do you allow any graduates, as you put it, the graduate that graduated from the university with degree or any other documents, do these kind of people are they qualified in the office to be given license to operate or to work in the field of engineer?
Yeah.
Or what advice do you give them first before you register?
Yeah, thank you. He might have the skills from the school. He might have the knowledge. He need the skills of how of doing the work. This one he acquired from, we give license only to the higher categories, which are professional and consultant. And those are the ones supposed to supervise those graduates and give them the necessary skills that they need for them to upgrade. And this issue of upgrading, we have this mechanism, we call it continuous professional development.
Okay.
Whereby we monitor.
I'm coming to. Let's go for a break and we'll be right back and continue with our discussion. Welcome back from the break. We have been talking about the roles and the responsibilities of the South Sudan Council of Engineering in the Republic of South Sudan. To discuss this, have been on the program with Engineer Barnaba Dumowani, Chairman of Engineering Council of South Sudan, as well as Professor Ajo Magotchol, Deputy Chairperson of Engineering Council of South Sudan. And another engineer is Engineer Oliver Marco Remago, Registrar and Acting Secretary General of the Engineering Council of South Sudan, and as well as Engineer Atim Tool Atim, Chairperson of South Sudan Engineering Society. Welcome both of you to our discussion. Now, to begin with, I wanted to bring you in Mr. Engineer Atim. Now, before you forward some, as you put it earlier on, before you forward some engineers who have come to your office asking for licensing and whatsoever that you give them, how do you do the screening to these people first before you forward them to South Sudan Council of Engineering?
Yeah, thank you for the question. We are actually working as the Engineering Council work. In our society, we are following the rules of Engineering Council. The Engineering Council, for the screening and verifying the documents, they have their own panels for doing that, expertise consultants. So for us, we have also our senior engineers, chief engineers who have specialized in different disciplines. Like civil engineers, we have senior engineers. Like electrical engineer, we have our senior members. So those members, they form like a panel for verifying and authenticating the document that has been presented to us for the membership, for acquiring the membership. So we verify, we look into the documents, we look to the experience, according to the procedures of Engineering Council, we follow. For them, to ease their work in the near future to join the Engineering Council. So we have our own panels for verifying the document that has been presented to us to acquire the membership of Engineering Society. And then also, we have, we need to put on a database for our own different disciplines. Because at the end of the day, Engineering Council cannot operate without these societies and this association. So we are like a backbone for the Engineering Council. When we verify, when we put down the right people and the right registration and membership, then the Engineering Council, the work of Engineering Council will be easy for licensing and giving the certificates later on. So we have the same panel to do the same job, to prepare our engineers in different categories, in different disciplines of specialization.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, Professor Ajo, I'm coming back to you. What do you think could be the problem South Sudan is not considering and not valuing most of the engineers that are operating in the country? These people are not, they are not granted, are not considered, and this in a sense that most of the contract are not given to our engineers, to the local engineers in the country. What do you think could be the problem?
Yes, it is true that most of our engineers are not being given the work, whether it is consultancy work or any other, especially with NGOs. That has something to do with who are controlling this work arena. NGO is a monopoly of some group, especially from outside. It is just like the UN. UN is a monopoly. And even when they advertise position, already they know who is going to come here. So even if you are qualified, you will not be able to get. Again, there have been resistance from some of our circles in the system. For example, we have been asking people to come for registration. And we ask some ministries, institutions, that you cannot employ somebody unless that person is registered with Engineering Council. What is happening in practice is that some of them ignore this idea. And you know, there was a submission that was made to the Council of Ministers some time back when we realized that there is a problem here. So our concerned minister, the Minister of Cabinet Affairs, the Honorable Martin Elia, presented this to Council of Ministers to alert his colleagues that, look, reinforce, make sure that the 2012 Act of Bill of Council of Engineers is implemented in the spirit and letter by making sure that in your ministry you don't employ engineers unless they are registered. Very few of these one implement this. Minister of Roads and Minister of Housing some time back. But the rest, because engineering council is spread all over, there are many ministries that we are involved. So yes, employment of these people is partly because there is monopoly.
Okay, thank you so much indeed. Now, Engineer Barnaba, my question has been, why is the South Sudan government not considering most of its engineers in the country, in the Republic of South Sudan? Of course, we are having several engineers that are now practicing, and others have recently graduated, and when the country comes, these people are always not being given the opportunity to do the job. What do you think could be the problem here?
One immediate problem I can see is
is it lack of confidence, lack of qualification, lack of skills that is making these people not considered?
Any country should respect its own laws. If we have passed a law, then nobody should practice engineering unless it is registered. That law should be implemented.
Now, I'm talking about those that you have registered. These people, it seems like some of them or most of the contract are being given to other international engineers, not the national engineers. This has been my question. What could be the problem?
The problem is really connected with whether we respect our own ethics. Yeah. It is an ethical matter. Because if you are serious about the ethics of your country, you give priority to your own people. The Engineering Council is there as a tool to ensure that people who are practicing engineering are qualified. And when we give them a license, that means they are qualified. And the government, if it is serious about giving priority to their own citizens, these are the people we should be given the opportunity. If it is not being done, then we are not serious about our own responsibility and our own people. It It is a matter of whether you are confident about your own people or you prefer to give your confidence to others.
Okay, I just need your word in less than a minute, yes.
Thank you very much. What I just want to add something. The 2012 bill, the one we have as a law, stipulates that all the contractors, all the companies, all the institutions that are practicing engineering, they have, and if they have to do the work, engineers must be there, and engineers must be registered. Okay, they cannot be allowed to do the work unless they are registered by the council. That's what it is stipulated in the act, in the constitution. And therefore, most of the contractors, they come with their people, and even their people are required by law that they should, if they have engineers there, they should come and be registered. Look at the construction industry that is going on, construction of roads, construction of bridges, construction of whatever it is. Now, if you are going to do that work of construction, first of all, as a company, we have to register a company. And what we ask is, do we have engineers who are to supervise that work? They said yes. Okay, let these engineers come to us so that we register them. We look at their documents. The unfortunate thing is that they violate this. They don't. Some of them they don't.
Okay.
Even those people who are working in the oil fields. Okay, we are supposed to look at their documents. Some may come with the poor documents. Okay. And we need to verify this. And we need to interview them whether really they are qualified or not.
And now, before I give the opportunity of the floor to Engineer Marco, you say that these people they violate. Who actually violate? Is it the government or is it the engineers that are not following what the Engineering Council of South Sudan says?
It is the companies, it is the institutions that employ the engineers from foreign nationals. Okay. They bring the foreign nationals, they come and do the work, and they don't come to be registered.
Okay, thank you so much indeed, Professor Ajo. Now I'm coming to you, Engineer Marco. The South Sudan Engineering talked about continuous professional developments. So what could you say about this now?
Coming to your question about the continuous development, continuous professional
development.
It's a mechanism that allows the Engineering Council to upgrade those lower competent engineers to the level of consultant and professional. For example, if someone is a new graduate, fresh graduate, we need to follow him annually. He's supposed to render to us a report indicating what he was doing, under whom, because he's supposed to do his work under someone who is licensed to practice. The graduate is not licensed to practice. He's not licensed to practice. He's registered as a graduate engineer. But a professional and a consultant, he has a license from the Engineering Council to practice the work. He's the one supposed to sign everything and to upgrade this graduate and give us report about him annually until he reaches a level where he is able now to take critical decision among himself. Why? Because engineering product and services, as the chairman says, it has direct effect to the life of the people. If you are not careful of who is doing it, is he competent? Is he capable? Is he have the knowledge? Is he have the skills? Is he have the attitude of doing it? So this is a mechanism allow us to monitor our engineers and to give them the right competence to do the work.
Okay, thank you. Now, Engineer Atem, I'm coming back to you. Most of our, it seemed like most of the building in the country got cracked. And even most of the roads also who are already being tarmac, they're facing some challenges. The tarmac is getting spoiled and so forth. What do you think could be the problem? Is it the quality of the work that is not in place, or there is a lack of standard materials that are being used for the construction?
Thank you for the question. Actually, this issue, we are going back to who is doing the work. If you are talking of the quality or the standards of any kind of projects, like road or building or dams or whatever the project, you have to make sure who designed this project is a qualified engineers who have a license to do that, who have the competence to do that. After you are assuring that the design is taken place under responsible engineers or consultant, then you go for implementation. Unfortunately, most of the project, not the big project, the small project like housing and this, there is no effort have been exerted to do that. Or most of the people who are doing or practicing the job are not the qualified engineers that we are talking about.
That is the cause of the cracks on most of the building around the country.
Yes, it is the design itself. Then we have in civil something called geotechnical engineering. You have to test the soil that you are constructing it. When you test the soil, then you know the very capacity of the soil that you are going to construct your work. This also related to our engineer who is registered. There is registered engineer, licensed engineer, knows all this. But the contract has been given to that people, don't registered, unregistered people, and just those who run after money. We are engineering council here, we are running after the quality and safety of the project of the construction. Now, most of the project now in Cuba, if you see in Guderi or in Yebeldeng or whatever, you see the project has been implemented by the non-South Sudanese people. And those people, they never visit our premises one day, and they will never visit. So we are advocating as engineering council to call them, because all our citizens are innocent. They get their contract without knowing that this is a responsibility. It should be given to licensed engineer, registered engineer, for accountability, because you are paying, you are putting, you are investing your money. So you should make sure that investment become a reality.
Now,
Can I add something?
I will come back to you. Before I give the opportunity to the, of course, we are just left with a few minutes on our discussion. It's almost getting done, and I require all of you at least to be giving me a minute on whatever questions that I will be asking any of you. Now, before I to pass the chance to the other next speaker, when somebody contracted a company or an individual to come and construct a house in his or her home, and maybe in the nearby future the house will get cracked, and maybe it can crack down to who in this case, who should that person go to now?
Yes.
This is what I wanted to add.
Okay, yeah, you come in.
There is a mechanism called building permit. The mechanism of building permit is being used by the ministries concerned and city councils. If you apply for a building permit, first of all, the authority will ensure that the land you are going to build is yours. Number one. Number two, that the designs of the building you are going to construct are checked by a qualified engineer. And that the man who is going to supervise the work is also a registered engineer. If these two conditions are fulfilled, there is no fear for that building.
Okay. Thank you so much indeed. We have been, our time has come to an end, and of course we have been talking about the roles and the responsibilities of the South Sudan Engineering Council and South Sudan Engineering Society. Many thanks indeed for being part of our discussion today. We have this marked the end of our of the discussion. Thank you so much indeed. Okay.